So we've got a question here from Amos who asks, often when parliamentary private secretaries are appointed, they get called bag carriers. But I find it hard to believe MPs are literally doing that job. What do they do, George?
Well, they act as the cabinet minister or leader's eyes and ears in Parliament. So obviously, if you're in government, you're very focused on running the department or leading number 10. But there's obviously a huge amount of parliamentary business and significant amounts of sort of plotting and faction forming, and they're really designed to be a source of intelligence.
Spy.
A spy. Yeah.
We should say these are the lowest. This is the lowest rung in the government. They're not technically part of the government, but they're on that ladder. So if you're a new MP, you'll be aspiring to be a PPS, and that's normally where people start their governmental careers. Yeah, going back to the eyes and ears point, this is where Gavin Williamson sort of cut his teeth in Parliament. He was David Cameron's PPS in the early 2010s, and I think that's part of the reason that people recognised that he was a force of Machiavellian intrigue.
Chris Ward has become Keir Starmer's PPS, a former aide to him, MP in Brighton. Jonathan Reynolds in the current cabinet, he was Ed Miliband's PPS. It's also a post that sometimes is useful for making a political point. You sometimes see PPSs resign over issues, so it can become a problem because it is, as Freddie said, the lowest rung of the ladder, which means if you're annoyed at the government, then you don't worry too much about resigning.
And is it only cabinet level ministers that get a PPS, or anybody in government?
I think it's normally cabinet. Level. Yeah.
Are they chosen personally by the cabinet secretary, or
they have to go through the chief whip
right.
As well? But yeah, you normally have personal choice because you want to get on with them, but it has to be approved.
Thank you. Right, one for you, I think, Freddie. This next one. This is from Chris. Andy Burnham did very well as a mayor in opposition, which is a position Ben Houchen now finds himself in. Greater Manchester Combined Authorities geography encompassed all Labour councils and MPs, whilst Tees Valley Combined Authorities geography, which is where Ben Houchen is, encompasses opposition councils and just one Tory MP. Do you see this impacting his experience as an opposition mayor, and how do you see Houchen, Starmer and a future Tory leader dynamic playing out?
I think the first thing to note is that mayors sit atop these combined authorities. So they work with a number of councils and they have to sort of come to an agreement about what they do. So they're sort of the chief executive above this council. The councils are still there. And that can be very problematic. We've seen that with Dan Norris, who's the mayor in West of England, which is essentially Bristol. He's had a situation where multiple councils are run by different parties, but he needs unanimity to make any decisions. So it's just led to complete gridlock. Take Manchester. Andy Burnham's got, as you say, as Chris says, a series of Labour councils. So it's much easier for them to come to an agreement. Ben Houchen's been better at that, but it also matters about what the actual settlement is. Do you need a unanimous decision amongst councils, or is a majority enough? So that would be one of the key questions for Labour when they try and roll out devolution. In terms of what it's like being an opposition member or an opposition mayor, it's noticeable, and I think Ben Houchen was pleased with the fact that he was invited to number 10 so quickly after the election. Many mayors have been saying that they've not really felt engaged by Whitehall under the Conservatives, not least number 10, and I think Keir Starmer was quite clear that he was going to work with the mayors, whatever their stripe. Devolution is at the core of what Labour want to do in the next 5 years. They see it as essential to their growth plans, their skills plans, their education plans. I don't think number 10 can be partisan about it, particularly when Keir Starmer makes decency, professionalism, this sort of bipartisanship in public life so central to his message, and it'd be a key test for that. So I think Ben Houchen will recognise that he should focus on delivering for Tees Valley, and he'll want to work with the government on that.
But I guess, George, it's also really good grounding for just being a great politician, isn't it? You know, having to work with people whose views you don't necessarily share on everything, but to create some kind of consensus and a way forward.
Yes, I think it really depends how things go for the government. As Freddie says, he will be approaching relations with the government in a very different way to opposition MPs. If the new Tory leader is struggling, then he will be seen as a bit of a as king across the water. But actually, if they're doing a good job attacking the government, then they will put him maybe in a politically trickier position. But the key thing is he's going to be one of the few Conservatives who's got a genuine platform.
But in terms of actually delivering for the Tees Valley area, it's good training, isn't it? If he wants to go into politics at a national level. Maybe.
Yeah, definitely. But I did find it interesting that Sadiq Khan, Andy Burnham, I don't know whether Houchen said it, but I'm sure he would have. They essentially keep getting so frustrated with interviewers, media, asking them whether they're going to go into Westminster and return to the front line of politics. I think for many of them, they see these roles as becoming established. They actually have bigger levers to implement policy. They can see the fruition of what they've been working on for 10 years rather than being this lobby fodder that many MPs are destined to do. Interestingly, though, Dan Norris has actually returned as an MP, the West of England mayor, so he's back in the House of Commons.
Thank you. No, I think that's a very fair point, that if you're going to respect devolution, then it's a really decent job to have, isn't it, having that amount of power.